Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Try the gray stuff. It's delicious. Don't believe me? Ask the dishes. No, we should do. It's Goofy's birthday, so we should do. Uh, da 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 da. Bum bum bum. Bow bow bow. We are here on Wednesday, talking Disney for you fine folk. And if you can now say, we'll learn how Goofy is quite the bloke. Come and join us now here. You'll never know. This is just all off the top of my head. But how's everyone doing? Everyone, we lost viewers. The singing scared people away. Hello. My ears. Ah! How's everyone doing? Are you guys doing good? Hopefully everyone's doing good. Today we're going to be talking all about the one, the only, the original Goofy. Because today is Goofy's birthday. So today we are celebrating the guy who's always celebrating us on our celebrating buttons, the one and only Goofy himself. We'll give a few minutes here. Let people come on if they want to come on. The singing already may have thrown people away, though. So if that's the case, I apologize. But how's everyone doing? I'm hoping. I was thinking about it today. Last week was an extremely exciting week here on the Wednesday show, where the Magic Kingdom ended up winning our entire tournament. That took about 4 weeks for us to complete. And I was kind of worried because that was an exciting 4 weeks of Wednesday shows. So hopefully people still come on, because I promise you, it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be exciting. We're still going to be talking about Disney. So come join us right now. All right, let's get this party started. We are going to start the 666th episode. Been dreading that number, but that's the episode run of the Wednesday show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 666th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is May 25th, 2022, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Tonight, in honor of Goofy's 90th birthday, that is actually today, on Goofy's 90th birthday, we're going to be talking about anything and everything dealing with Goofy. We're going to be going through his history, his backstories. Who on earth is Max's mom? We're going to go deep dive into that. And then we're also going to talk about amazing things like why on earth did those how-to short cartoons decide or happen? And is Goofy really a dog, or is he a cow, as some people are claiming online now? And those. But before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. Thank you, everyone who's been joining us for our Saturday in the Park. If you didn't already know, every single Saturday right here on the From Screen to Team Facebook page, we do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we're going to be. However, this coming up Saturday, I do have reservations for Epcot, and I'm hoping that hopefully, we can do our broadcast from Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, because it does open up on Friday of this week. And that also brings us to the point. Next week, we will be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. We will do the first half, no spoilers, and then the second half, spoilers. So make sure you join us for that episode as well. And of course, as always, today's show is sponsored by, I clicked it, but it didn't go. It's All About the Mouse Travel. Make sure you stop by. It's allaboutthemousetravel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All of our services are absolutely, positively, 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. Oh, wait. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are going to take a look at our numbers, as we always do at the start of the show here, and figure out, as always, if we get new subscribers along the way, we will be going through and having it so this show is going to go into extra innings. So if you know anyone who's going to want to join us over on YouTube, make sure you send them over. We are currently at 1,546 subscribers over on YouTube, so make sure you send your friends over this way. We are 4 away from 1,550. That'd be a cool number to hit by the end of the night. So Send on over, and we will go into extra things as the night goes on here. Is the chat working? Is the chat working? It shows that we've got a lot of people who are watching, but it's also not showing that any comments are coming through. So let me know if so far we just have those two first comments from 5 minutes ago that are showing up for me, but maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe they're not coming through. I don't know. I have no idea. Let me throw my comments on there. Hi. Okay, there we go. Now the things are going through. Is this thing on? Yes, it is. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Hopefully you guys can hear me. It's in buggy on you. Okay, right now it's showing that my connection is not the greatest. It's saying get closer to my Wi-Fi, which is literally on the other side of this wall right here. So I'm not sure what's going on. But hopefully we go through and everything continues. Okay, so like I said, tonight we're going to be talking all about Goofy. If you guys have any questions about Goofy specifically, throw them into the comments below, and I will make sure that I go through and answer all the questions that we have going through as the night goes on here as well. So like I said, Goofy's birthday is today. 90 years ago today, the world of Goofy, your sound and video are not in sync. Okay, let's do... Oh, no, that's not what I want. Let's try this real quick here. Wait. Okay. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. There we go. Okay. Right now it's just my voice. And now you can see my face. I don't know. Maybe that's linked up now. I have no idea. Technically, it's Dippy Dog's birthday, but it's also Goofy's birthday. We're going to go through the entire evolution of Goofy because I think a lot of people don't really know the entire evolution of Goofy. Much better. Now we can't see you. What? Well, I made it black, and now I made it so the camera can see. Can you hear and see? This is so crazy. Yeah, my notes over here as well. Oh wait, this is working. Should we restart? Would that work better for people? What is this? I'm not sure what's going on. It's still black. What? It's still black on everyone's screen? Is it still black now? I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. This is very weird, very confusing. Oh, wait, now you see me. And hopefully, thank you, Timothy. That's very nice of you. The video's frozen. What's going on here? This is driving me crazy. So the video's frozen for everyone? Maybe. Oh, hey, yo, you're here. Frozen. Oh, it's frozen. Let's do this. We'll turn off the camera here for the second, and then we'll turn it back on. If that doesn't work, then I guess we'll not have the camera on for the time being. And then hopefully later on we can go through and we can show up the different views. So let me know if the thing's still viewing. Hello, Jessica's view. Still frozen, but you guys can hear, right? So if we turn off the camera, you guys can still hear. I can still talk, and everything's going to be hunky dory. Okay, I think it's working for the audio at least. Hopefully the audio is working. And then if I throw this up on the chat room, you guys can still see, for instance, that Jessica's view says frozen with the cold face. Right? Right? Or Christine's got the cold face on there as well. Okay, so I guess this is going to be how we're going to do it tonight, and then maybe later on we'll throw the video on. I don't know if it's working. Okay, so that's working. So you guys can see that stuff at least. So right now it is just the video that's not working, but that's fine. We're going to start with the audio here. Okay, so we'll have the black screen for the time being. That's just going to be how it's going to have to roll for the time being, and then we'll go through and here. And you know what we're going to do real quick is we're going to put down this video difficulties. All right. We'll have that on there, so that way if anyone joins us later on, then they know that that's exactly what's going on, and they're not like, what's going on? There's a blank screen. I'm seeing both closed captioning and transcript. You can, All right, so let's start off, and we're going to go through the history of Goofy here. While we go through the history of Goofy, I'm also going to have it so if you guys have any questions about anything and everything Goofy, throw them into the comments. We're going to go through and answer your questions as we go through here. There's a few things that I'm sure that I'm going to skip over on accident, so if you guys have questions that you guys want to throw out there, make sure you throw them out. So let's start us off by the original debut of Goofy. The original debut was 90 years ago today, May 25th, 1932, except for his name was not Goofy at that time. His name was actually Dippy Dog, spelled Dippy Dawg. Now, Dippy Dog's first appearance actually was in a short cartoon called Mickey's Review, and in Mickey's Review, Mickey's going through and he's performing, and while he's performing, there is a person in the chat room who continuously laughs, just like that. So the original voice of Goofy was a man whose name is Pinto Calvig. He actually was originally a puppeteer / a vaudeville artist performer, and he would go through and was recruited by Walt Disney to do different voices for different animated cartoons in the late 1920s, early 1930s, and actually he continued to do the voice of Goofy all the way through 1967. Now, originally he was the voice, he actually based it off of a man who he knew back in his home of Oregon. Now, when he used to grow up there was this guy who everyone found obnoxious, no one really liked, and he would kind of have this obnoxious laugh. And when he was going through this different transition, he was just making it so it'd be like this guy who was just kind of a mockery of town. So when when Goofy first appeared, he was only supposed to appear in a few different short cartoons, and he was supposed to just be kind of the guy in the background that would be irritating the main characters involved, mainly Mickey Mouse. Because at that point, we had Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Pluto around. We did not have Donald Duck or a lot of the other main characters that we all know and love today. We did have characters like Horace Horsecollar and Clarabelle Cow, however, and their stories are kind of come into play as we go through here tonight. So when they were going through and creating Goofy, he started to go through this transition throughout the years, and he eventually slowly became more of a star. Now, he actually originally was Dippy Dog, and then he became Dippy the Goof, and then he eventually got to the name of Goofy. However, Goofy is not actually his official name. His official name is actually Gigi Goofy Goof, but we're going to talk about that in just a little bit here. So when we're going through and talking about the history, if you've ever seen the Brave Little Tailor, the short cartoon, the Brave Little Tailor, how many people have seen that short cartoon? I love that short cartoon. I think it's one of the greatest short cartoons ever created by Disney. Hands on, it's always one of my favorites. But in that, you actually see the different credits play, and during the credits, you actually have it so there's different things saying who each of the starring roles is done by. So, for instance, it says the princess played by Minnie Mouse. It also shows in that cartoon that we also have Goofy is not named Goofy. He's actually named Dippy Dog at that point. So he still is an older character at that point who does not actually have his name. He eventually would get his name in one of the first cartoons where we would actually see Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse team up. It's not the first one they teamed up in, but it was one of the first times we would see Donald Duck and Mickey together. And it was the first time that Goofy really appeared on screen in a more of a, not starring role, but more of a role where he was the main focus. And that cartoon was called Orphan's Benefit, which came out back in 1934. Now, at this point, Goofy started to take over the role of Horace Horsecollar. Before that, Horace Horsecollar was not really... Horace Horsecollar was always kind of like the B star. Like, he wasn't the main star. He didn't ever have his own cartoons, but he was kind of one of the main characters that was a sideliner for Mickey Mouse. So when he was going through and being the sideliner for Mickey Mouse, he would go through and just kind of play the comic relief on the side. Goofy started to do the exact same thing. However, back in the late 1930s, we started to have a little bit more stardom being found for Mickey, or I'm sorry, not for Mickey, for Goofy, because at this point, Mickey and Goofy, along with Donald Duck, started to star in their own trio of cartoons that they had so many great classics, like The Clock Cleaners is the first one that always pops up in my head. Lonesome Ghost is another great one. And when all these different cartoons started to come out, starring the three characters all together, they started to realize that maybe, just maybe, Goofy had enough star power to actually star in his own cartoons. So when they started to go through and decide that they're going to have it so he was in his own cartoons, they decided to create a brand new segment called the Goofy Cartoons, which came out back in 1939, with the first one being Goofy and Wilbur. Are you going to try video again? Okay, we can try video again. Let's see if it works here. Okay, it's working fine on my end. I don't know if it's working fine on your end at all. Are we still frozen? Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. It's still showing on my thing right up here on my side. It's showing for some reason saying that I'm not close enough to the internet, which the internet is literally right around the corner. All right, still frozen. Everyone's still saying it's frozen. So let's go back to video difficulties, and we will turn off the camera. Again, for the time being here, we'll try it again in about 10 minutes here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it, but we'll continue to try it as the evening goes on. All right, any questions so far as we go through our history of Goofy? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? You're here now. Switch to Facebook. I'm here now. Just in case anyone's trying to figure out the Lauren story right now, she was on YouTube, and then switched over to Facebook. Okay. All right. Any questions so far about Goofy? It's all good. Enjoying the Goofy history so far. I encourage you guys, if you guys have any questions as we go through here, please throw those questions in the chat room, because now we're going to get to the interesting part. So in 1939, we have the very first Goofy by himself cartoon, which is called Goofy and Wilbur. If you guys have never seen Goofy and Wilbur, it's a great cartoon. It's a very simplistic cartoon. But shortly after we went through and we had Goofy and Wilbur come out, Goofy started to have it so he would start to get a little bit more popular, and he had starring roles in Goofy's Glider and Baggage Buster, and then something terrible happened. It was literally 2 years after his debut, and Pinto, the guy who was actually the voice of Goofy, he had a massive falling out with Disney, with like Walt Disney himself and the entire Disney company. And when he was going through. No, Lauren, you're a little late to the party. His original name was Dippy Dog, and then Dippy the Goof, and then now it's Goofy. Well, his official name, like I said earlier, is actually GG Goofy Goof. So, GG Goofy Goof. It's a beautiful name. Love. His parents loved him dearly. Goofy is a dog. His girlfriend's a cow. We're gonna get into that. All right. So, as we continue here, so Pinto, the guy who is the voice of Goofy, who gave us the famous "oh yuck," and so many other classic things about Goofy, the Goofy yell, the Goofy voice, everything Goofy. He had a falling out with Disney, and when he had a falling out with Disney, they were kind of confused on what to do, because now they had this starring character who's had 3 pretty big cartoons, but now Pinto he left the Disney company. He was done. He said, I'm done. I'm not going to be part of this anymore. I'm out of here. You guys can get yourself a different Goofy. But his contract was not up. And because his contract was not up, they technically could not actually get another person to do a starring role. They could have it so someone could come in and do imitations, but they couldn't have it so he starred more than, I think it was 12% of the audio was done by him. So they had to find a brand new person to actually go through, or they couldn't do a new person. So because of this, they started a brand new thing called the How-To Shorts. Now, if you guys ever think about any of the Disney classic cartoons, there's a lot of different things. Like, I was going to do my impersonation that I completely went blank in the head on exactly what to do. But it would be like, have you ever wondered what it's like to ski? Well, guess what? You're in luck, because we are with Goofy. That's a terrible impersonation, because that's nothing like what they actually said. But in the Goofy How-To Shorts, they would actually go through and they would teach you how to do different things. The first one was called The Art of Skiing, which came out in 1941. Then we had The Art of Self-Defense, how to play baseball, the Olympic champ, how to swim, how to fish, blah, 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 blah. There were so many different Disney or Goofy cartoons that came out, and all of it came down to this idea of having a narrator that was narrating how to do a specific thing or how a specific thing worked. And when they would go through and talk about these specific things working, they would have it so Goofy was the person who was playing the role of learning how to do these items. When they started to do these different, I know what you're talking about, I can hear it in my head. Let's find it. Can we find an audio clip? I'm sure we can find an audio clip of it, just in case someone out there might not exactly know what we are talking about here. This is kind of the nice thing about doing an audio episode and not the video episode, because with this we can kind of go through and here we go. We got How to Fish, which came out in 1942. It's like the 8th or 9th Goofy cartoon ever to be. This is the Goofy song. All right, but we want to just go. Oh, there we go.
Successful angling no longer depends upon fishermen's luck. For today, fishing has become a truly fascinating science.
All right, we're going to stop the audio there, just mainly because we don't want to get banned from Facebook and YouTube. So when they would go through, they would have it so this announcer would go through and he would kind of walk Goofy through how to do these specific things. Now, it would start off as an informational thing, but if you ever actually want to learn how to fish or how to ski or any of the other cartoons that we actually go through with Goofy, I highly recommend not going through it, because every now and then, not every now and then, every time you would actually go through and eventually something would go wrong with Goofy and it would become more of chaos and chaotic energy. Now, in order for them to have it so these Goofy cartoons would go on and still have a little bit of Goofy there, because legally they own the audio for the Goofy cartoons that had already been done by Pinto from 1932 up until he left in 1941. Because they had some of this audio, they would actually use some of the lines and the audio and the laughter and the and all the other stuff. They would actually use that or those sound clips and place it into these short cartoons, teaching you how to do specific things. So there was still a little bit of Goofy there, but not as much Goofy as you would probably like. Now, as time would go on, eventually Pinto and Disney made up, and Pinto would actually come back to the company and start to do more cartoons. So in the 1950s, we got a brand new Goofy. Now, when we talk about the brand new Goofy is something that most people just are not used to seeing. When you think of Goofy, there are several different types of Goofy that you can think of. Actually, Goofy's gone through 20 different designs since 1932 until current day. And out of those 20 different designs, most people are going to think about Goofy from like the 90s or Goofy from the 30s or maybe Goofy from Goof Troop. But most people don't really think about Goofy when it comes to Goofy being George G. Geef. Now, George G. Geef was Goofy's persona as the everyman. So back in the 1950s, they decided to have it so Goofy would go through and he would show us what it was like to be a modern man. If you've ever seen these Goofy cartoons, they're entertaining, but they're not entertaining in the way that Goofy usually is. However, this does bring us to our very first thing ever, one of the biggest questions that we ever have about Goofy, which is who on earth is Max's mom? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Max. Now, Max Goof originally debuted in 1951, but his name was not Max when he first debuted. It was actually Goofy Jr. At one point, I think they called it George Goofy Jr. But Max would eventually, he's most famous for starring from 1992 into 1996 in Goof Troop, and then also in things like a Goofy movie and an extremely Goofy movie. And then he's had a few more things throughout the years as well. However, in 1951, he made his first debut. The first model of Max was created in the short cartoons where Goofy actually had a wife and he had a son. His wife's name was Mrs. Geef. At times, it was also Mrs. Goof. It really depended on the cartoon itself. But it was the first time that we would actually see Goofy married, and it was the first time that we would actually see Goofy with a son. Now, if you actually go through the Disney archives, they will confirm that Goofy Jr., aka Max, is the same person. The evolution of Goofy Jr. to Max is the same evolution that we had from Dippy Dog to Goofy. They might look different, they might have different names. However, they are the exact same one. I made my first debut in 1991. That's a good line. I'm going to use that. I made my first debut in 1984. So the question here is, who on earth is Mrs. Geef and who on earth is Mrs. Goof? Are they the same person? Well, those two are the same people. But is it the same person as who Max's mom is in other installments? Now, a lot of people will tell you that Clarabelle Cow is the mother of Goofy, or not the mother of Goofy, the mother of Max. That has been confirmed by the Disney company as being false. That was a very weird, that was a very weird and confusing way to say that it's not true. I lost my train of thought there. Clarabelle Cow is not the mother of Max. That is 100% like not like Disney's confirmed. Clarabelle Cow is not the mother. So someone earlier I did see say something about Goofy's a dog, his girlfriend is a cow. We're gonna get a little bit more into the whole girlfriend thing in a little bit here because technically, yeah. Okay. So there was another Goofy had other love interests throughout the years. He also had a character named Glory Bee, who was from the 60s and 70s comic strips. That was not Max's mother as well. The one that most likely is, if we've ever seen Max's mother on screen or in comics, most likely it's Zenobia. Zenobia was actually one of the Italian comics that was created by Disney back in the 1950s and 1960s. And in these comics, her and Goofy were married. They possibly had kids. It was all kind of up in the air. But according to Disney, there actually is we've never seen the mother on screen. So Zenobia could possibly be the mother of Max, mainly due to the fact that we've never actually seen her on screen. We've only seen her in comic books. So some people kind of read the lines as she's possibly the mother, but probably not. We don't know. To be honest, there has never been an official thing about Goofy having a mother. Now, when they were creating Goof Troop and they were deciding that the entire concept of Goof Troop was going to feature around the story of Goofy along with his son Max, one of the ideas that they had when they were talking about the two of them being eye to eye, din, 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 bam, 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 when they were talking about Goofy possibly being, or not possibly being, but being the mother or the father of Max, one of the ideas that came up during these meetings was, what is the backstory about Max's mom? And at one point, someone said, maybe we can say that she passed away. And they decided that was too dark of a backstory to have with Goofy. So they decided instead they're just going to not ever mention it. And if you've ever watched a Goof Troop, you go through and they never really talk about exactly where his mother actually is. So let's continue here. So Goofy continued to go through several different changes throughout the years. So in the 1950s, he played the role of George G. Geef, or Goofus D. Dog, or Goofy G. Goof. And then eventually he went to the comics and actually started his own series of comics where he became Super Goof. And Super Goof was essentially like Batman and Clark Kent, where you look at them and you're like, how on earth are people not being able to tell that these are the same exact people? Because Super Goof is exactly Goofy, but with a superhero outfit on. Most people knew that it was Goofy, though. So that's a little bit different. Let's get to the other big question that's on everyone's mind. I saw someone posted in the comments, is Goofy a dog? Is Goofy a dog? Yes, Goofy is a dog. Goofy was confirmed to be a dog originally by Walt Disney himself back in the 1930s. He sets up and down the lines of Goofy is a dog. And then in 1995, there was a report where I want to say it was Siskel and Ebert did an interview with Bill Farmer. Bill Farmer is the current voice of Goofy. And during that report, they asked Bill Farmer, it was during a Goofy movie. So in 1995, they asked him, hey, is Goofy a human or is he a dog or is he something in between? And Bill Farmer confirmed that, in fact, Goofy is a dog. So we've been confirmed that Goofy is a dog multiple times. Goofy is, in fact, a dog, despite... There is that video that came out not that long ago, and it drove me up the wall. I had more people sending me this thing about Goofy being a cow. And they're like, oh, did you know that Goofy's a cow? Goofy's a cow. Goofy's a cow. Goofy's a cow. And it drove me up a wall because... this is odd. No video. We'll try the video again after I go on my rant about this person. So this person went through and they said that Goofy was a cow, and so many people believed that Goofy was a cow, and I must have received... There's times where people come up with these ridiculous theories about Disney, and then they send them to me, and 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 they send them to me. And I'll receive literally like 100 messages in a day of the same video, which I do appreciate when people send me this stuff, because keep sending things. If you see something that's outrageous that might be true, I love to receive them because you might be the first person to send it to me, and I need to know. But this one, oh my gosh, I had more people telling me, oh my gosh, did you know that Goofy was a cow? And I had to go through and explain to different people that, in fact, Goofy was not a cow, that it was just some guy online who came up with a bogus accusation, and he decided to create a story about how Goofy was a cow, and it's not true. So Walt Disney himself confirmed that Goofy is in fact a dog. Bill Farmer, the current voice of Goofy, has confirmed that he is in fact a dog. And Brent Dodge right now on here is talking about how, in fact, Goofy is a dog and not a cow. Did you talk about Max's mom? We did. So the essential storyline of it's a conspiracy theory, yes. So the bottom line about Max's mom is, it's been confirmed by Disney. We've never seen her on screen, so a lot of people think that even though we've never seen her on screen, there is a character named Zenobia who was in the Italian comics, who you only see on paper and print. We go through. We can't see her face. You could be fibbing. This is kind of. I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of weird. Not having video because I'm like just like looking around my room constantly. Like I'm usually like focused on the screen and being like, okay, like this is I'm looking at you guys, and now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm looking at the ceiling. I had been looking at the ceiling for a lot. But yeah, so most likely Zenobia is the mother because she was never found on screen. However, it was a long-term girlfriend of Goofy. Even when we had, like earlier, we were talking about Mrs. Geef / Mrs. Goof in the 1950s cartoons. During those cartoons, you actually never, I think there might have been one time, but for the most part, you never really saw the face of Mrs. Geef or Mrs. Goof. Usually it was like the back of her head talking to him. So I guess it could technically be her, but like I said, we don't really know. But Max did derive from the idea that he was Goofy Jr. from the 1950s. From 1951, I believe was his first appearance. All right, let's try to get my face back on here. We'll see if that works. Maybe not. I don't know. It's gonna. I just made a face, and it's gonna stop on that face. It's gonna be like frozen on that face. I know Scrooge paid for a surrogate for Goofy. Could be. Very well could be. Is the video working now? Frozen and terrifying. Okay. On that, then we're gonna go back here. All right. So as we're slowly getting to the point where we've gone through most of my notes here that we're going to talk about. So make sure you start throwing your questions into the comments below, and we'll continue to go through your comments here. Okay, so eventually Goofy would go through a series of cartoons where he was the everyday man, and then we just kind of. Oh, you saw me move. You saw me move. I was drinking water. Wait, so this is working? extra. We've seen Brent move. He was drinking water. Is it working? So it's working now? We saw you drink water. Let's see here. Bum, bum. Can you guys see what I'm doing now? Okay, so I'll keep on talking here as we go through. So we had George Geef, and he kind of went through the everyday thing. Not yet. This is weird. I'm looking at the camera again. I've literally been like this, looking up at the ceiling, talking, and now all of a sudden, possibly, no, negative Ghost Rider. I saw a thing today that said, this is a complete side note. This is not about Goofy at all. Someone said that after guys find out that their friends are alive, that then they have like the most ridiculous insults towards them based off of what happened to them. And this girl said her hair caught on fire when she was young, and for years her brothers called her Ghost Rider. I was like, that's hilarious. Maybe time for a new camera. It's the internet. So every time it comes on with the internet, it's showing that we don't have many bars on there. It keeps on popping up saying like you're not close enough to your internet provider, and it's literally I can almost touch it. It's right around the corner here. It's in the same room, but it's there's like a small little wall coming out. It's next to my TV. Maybe time for new internet. I just got internet. This is my condo recently had it so the internet is actually included in the price of our condo fees. So, and it's been really good. It's actually when I goes to uploading videos, my old internet, it would take me probably a good solid 30 to 40 minutes to upload a 5-minute video, and this one takes maybe 15-20 seconds to upload the same length. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. Time for a new condo, and I have a mortgage, so I'm not. Okay, so let's continue. So George Geef eventually he kind of faded away. We didn't really see much of Goofy in the 1960s. He would pop up every now and then. He had a few different things that he was doing. And in the 1970s, we didn't really see him much. And then in 1983, we got a brand new Mickey Mouse short cartoon for the first time in years. And in that, we had Goofy, who came out as the former business partner of Scrooge McDuck in the film Mickey's Christmas Carol. So when Mickey's Christmas Carol debuted, we got a few new things with Goofy. Our first one was Bill Farmer did not officially take over then, but he started to go under an apprenticeship where he kind of learned a little bit more about how Goofy's voice was done. He didn't actually officially start voicing Goofy until 1987. And then in addition to that, we started to see that maybe Goofy had a little bit more running power than we previously thought. So when this stuff was going on, we started to also see a little bit of a shift in, not a little bit of a shift, a massive shift in the Disney studios and when it came to animation. So this was right around the time when Michael Eisner would take over. And when Michael Eisner took over, the entire animation department completely shifted focus. So all of a sudden we started getting amazing films like The Little Mermaid, Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, etc., 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 etc. And then at the same time, we started to have it so we would go through and have it so we started to create brand new TV shows like The Adventures of the Gummy Bears, which was the first one that would be part of the Disney Afternoon. And then we also had in that original block, DuckTales, still my favorite show. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, amazing movie. If you guys did not see it, I personally loved it. I've had a few people who wrote to me saying that they loved it, and I've had a few people who've said that they absolutely hated it. I personally loved it. As a kid who grew up in the 1980s and watched a lot of the cartoons that are being referenced, it was an amazing, amazing film, in my personal opinion. And then the last one was Tailspin. Now, after the first season of the Disney Afternoon happened, they got rid of Gummy Bears and they replaced it with a brand new show called Goof Troop. And in Goof Troop, we got to see what would happen if Goofy was actually a dad. So, see, there's the link between Goofy and Scrooge. I'm betting on Scrooge's page for the circuit. I think you're probably right, Shelley. I think you might be right. This might be the truth that we never really knew. So as they would go through and they would have it, so Goof Troop started to take off. Goofy became a lot more popular than he had been in many, many years. So Goofy all of a sudden became another transition of himself. Now he was more of an everyday man, but he was more of an everyday man who was also goofy and also a single parent and lived next door to an obnoxious neighbor that would also often give him some issues. So with Goof Troop, we got to see a brand new variation of Goofy. And when that entire show became more and more popular, they decided that for the first time ever in the history of any Disney cartoon, that they were going to do something that they've never done before. They were going to actually have some characters age. So Goofy aged a few years along with his son Max for the 1990 film A Goofy Movie. And then, of course, again, a few years after that, they aged once again for an extremely goofy movie where Max and Goofy went through and actually went through and went to college. So when that happened, we didn't really see Goofy and Max again for a while until not 1990. So that was the year. I'm stuck in my notes. 2007, when we got a brand new Goofy cartoon called How to Hook Up Your Home Theater. Now, if you remember How to Hook Up Your Home Theater, this film actually came out before National Treasure 2, Books of Secrets. When 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 I went to go see that movie in 2007, I vividly remember seeing that movie for the first time. Disney at that point did not make any official statement saying that, hey, we're going to be releasing a brand new cartoon before this. There was talks about possibly releasing new cartoons before movies sometime in the near future, but at this point we hadn't really had a brand new cartoon released in 40 years before a Disney film. It had been quite some time. So all of a sudden, I remember sitting in theater, and when that happened, all of a sudden we got a brand new short cartoon called How to Hook Up Your Home Theater. I vividly remember seeing this movie with my ex-girlfriend, and I freaked out like a little child because we were seeing a brand new Goofy cartoon. And it was hilarious. And since then, Goofy's gone on to star in a few more short cartoons and a lot of different TV shows, things like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, the Mickey Mouse short cartoons, where he got a brand new look as well, and then Mickey and the Roadster Racers, etc., etc., etc. So he's gone through so many different things throughout the years, and yeah. So originally, Goofy was your freak out why she's your ex-girlfriend? No, that was not the reason. It probably didn't help. So yeah, so he's gone through so many different things throughout the years. Yeah, Prince and the Pauper was released with Rescuers Down Under. So let's go to questions in the chat room. If anyone has any questions in the chat room, I know we clearly did not cover everything because we have 90 years of Goofy history, and we can only do so much throughout all of it here. So we only have so much time every Wednesday to talk about all this stuff. It's kind of crazy, though, when you think about the fact that if you guys remember 4 years ago, it was a Wednesday was when we celebrated the 90th anniversary of Mickey and Minnie on this show. And now here we are celebrating the 90th anniversary of... Don't tell me, Christine. Don't tell me, because I do watch Survivor, and I'm on here. So do not... No. We're not going to talk about the ex-girlfriend. All right, let's go through. If anyone has any questions out there about Goofy, the history of Goofy, yeah, like I said, we went through, and Goofy also had things we also didn't talk about. Goofy throughout the years, he's also received attractions like he had Goofy's Bounce House. Was it Bounce House or just Goofy's House? I think it was called Bounce House at one point. Over in Disneyland, we also had Goofy's Barnstormer at Walt Disney World, debuted October 1st, 1996. And then in 2012, it became the Barnstormer starring the great Goofini. So is Goofy currently in a relationship with anyone? So Goofy he's not officially in a relationship with Clarabelle Cow. They've not made it Facebook official. It is like Mickey and Minnie, except for Mickey and Minnie, Walt Disney confirmed that they are married, and every now and then they play the role of a dating couple for the purpose of laughter and whatnot. It is the opposite for Goofy and Clarabelle Cow. They are not dating. However, sometimes they play the roles of someone who's dating for if that's what needs to be done for that specific cartoon. What was the short cartoon where Mickey, Donald, Goofy were ghost hunters? That was Lonesome Ghost. Lonesome Ghost. That was hands down. Lonesome Ghost and Claw Cleaners are two of my favorite Disney short cartoons of all time. The new Mickey Mouse cartoons get so much hate, but I really like the stories, the new shorts. Goofy's characters really came into his own there. Yeah, so I agree. I absolutely love the problem with with the new shorts is the animation style is completely different than what we're used to. But I think the cartoons are some of the best cartoons ever, and I actually think Goofy does have a great role in those cartoons. Only Goofy could give us an entire short cartoon about Potato Land because he saw a sign growing up that said, "Welcome to Idaho, America's Potato Land," and he thought it was an amusement park. What's the best Goofy impression you can do? Let's try this here. I used to be able to do a pretty good the Goofy laugh. I used to do fairly well. I haven't done it for a while. Yuck. That's terrible. Gosh. I got to read something so I can try to do it in Goofy's voice. Let's pick up a closer look. Yuck! In 1993, the show changed in a drastic way. That was terrible, absolutely terrible. When I was younger, I used to try to do the, and I never could do. If Pluto's a dog, what is Goofy? We already confirmed that Goofy is in fact a dog as well. They're just both two different kinds of dogs. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but the reason they had Goofy was because the voice actor for Goofy quit Disney, and he had a contract with Disney where only 12% of his words or of the dialogue could be done by someone besides himself. So that's why Goofy got the how-to shorts. Any other questions out there about Goofy while we go through here and talk about? Oh gosh. And I've seen Bill Farmer, who voices Goofy. I've seen him a few times. I met him very briefly once at a D23 event. Way back in the day, like in 2011, 2012, sometime around there. Oh, yuck. Any hidden Goofies anywhere? Ooh, that's a good question. There are a few hidden Goofies found throughout Walt Disney World. And now that you say that, I'm drawing the biggest blank in the world. I know there is one inside the Haunted Mansion. I'm just drawing a blank on exactly where. Where was it? I can't think of where it is. There's also a hidden Goofy over in Africa in the pavement over. It's in the wall work. There's different wall work. You can find one that looks like Blue, one that looks like Shere Khan. There's one that looks like Goofy over there as well. So there are a few spots around the parks where you can find hidden Goofies. Obviously not as many as you would find for hidden Mickeys, but that's besides the point. How tall is Goofy? At the theme parks, he's around 6 feet tall. So around 6 feet tall. Where was that question? Does Goofy have an arch rival? Yeah, it depends on the cartoon, really. Pete obviously is his main arch rival in Goof Troop. And then when he was in different cartoons, at one point Chip and Dale were his arch rival for like one cartoon. But I remember reading a great little article from Walt Disney back, it must have been from like the 1940s, where Walt Disney was talking about Goofy. And one of the great things about Goofy is the fact that Goofy's main antagonist in the short cartoons is Goofy himself, because Goofy gets into these different predicaments that are blocking him from doing what he wants to have done. So because of that, Goofy is kind of his main antagonist. He's the main reason Goofy can't get things done in his cartoons is because Goofy is being goofy. So I always found that pretty good. Does Goofy's friend have to be 6 feet tall? Yes, they do. Goofy's friend has to be 6 feet tall. Any other questions out there while we're sitting around here talking? Which era of Goofy gave him his iconic outfit? The 90s version? I feel like it's the 60s vibe. The one that you see at the parks, the main one that you see at the parks, actually came from the 1930s and some of the earliest short cartoons that you would actually have with Goofy. if you actually look at his original outfit as Dippy Dog back in Mickey's Review, not exactly the same. He had glasses at that point. He also had like a little bit of scruff, like he was kind of like trying to grow facial hair, but he couldn't, kind of like me. But yeah, where was that next question? Are any Goofy movies in the horizon? Nothing like a big feature film. There's going to be more Goofy appearances in different Mickey Mouse cartoons, obviously. But that's kind of the main things they have planned right now. Where does Goofy rank on your all-time Disney character list? He's towards the top. I wouldn't say Goofy's in my top 10 of all-time Disney characters, but he's up there. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. I've always loved Goofy. I remember Goof Troop I watched religiously as a child. I absolutely loved Goof Troop. And then back in like 2002, 2003, somewhere around there, maybe 2004 or 5, Disney came up with these. Well, they first came out with this set of DVDs back in 2001 for Walt Disney's 100th anniversary, or Walt Disney's 100th birthday. And when they came out with these things, it was like these tins. I still have all of my tins. And they would go through, and each one would be about a different thing. One of them was Goofy cartoons. And when I went back and watched all of those, because I hadn't seen all of the Goofy cartoons at that point, I had seen a few, but not all of them. And also keep in mind, like, I was talking to someone not that long ago at work about how crazy it is, because they were like, oh, like, did you know this much about Disney when you were younger? I was like, I knew a lot about Disney, but at the same time, you didn't have things like the internet. Like, you couldn't look up facts about Disney immediately. And if you wanted to watch every Goofy cartoon, the first time that you really could watch every Goofy cartoon, unless you lived through the theaters and watched every single one when they came out, would not have been until 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, whenever they came out with that box set of the Goofy cartoons. And I remember just living and breathing those Goofy cartoons when they first came out, and I had so much more respect for the character. And it was the first time that I had seen a lot of the cartoons where he was George Geef, because up until that point, we didn't really know much about George Geef. It was, if you remember, even now, if you talk to people and you say, hey, was there a bunch of cartoons where Goofy was like a stay-at-home, or not a stay-at-home dad, but like a businessman and had to provide for his kids? People would say, what are you talking about? There's no cartoons like that. But back then, there were all these different cartoons where they would go through and have those. So whenever that DVD came out, I want to say it was like early 2000s. That was the first time that I really had an experience with those cartoons, and I truly fell in love with them at that point. Is there a story behind Goofy's Candy Company? Yes, there is. Let's talk about Goofy's Candy Company. Great question. We're going to go through a few more questions here, and then we're going to check our... If we can get to 1,550 subscribers in the next few minutes, we'll go through and we'll continue on to about 11 o'clock answering your questions. Right now, we're 4 people away. So send some questions over. We're going to go through and answer as many questions as possible here. We'll check in about 10 minutes. And if we haven't got any new subscribers yet, then we'll end in about 10 minutes. But yeah, the story behind Goofy's Candy Company is mainly due to the fact that Goofy, they figured, would be the perfect spokesman for a candy company. So when you're going through Goofy's Candy Company at Disney Springs, keep in mind, prior to this, Goofy's Candy was a thing around the parks, and it was mainly just due to the fact that they liked how the packaging looked with Goofy on the packaging for the candy. And then eventually, as time would go on, it would go through and they would say, okay, like, let's create this whole backstory with Goofy's Candy Company. So the storyline of Goofy's Candy Company is Goofy has created his own candy company. There's a few different really cool details in there that I personally just absolutely love, that I feel like most people just never really truly appreciate. One of the things is that Goofy used the periodic table to figure out the best combination of creating different candies. Now, one of these combinations, or one of the ways that he does the periodic table, is if you look through it, it's all the different elements, but the elements are all Disneyfied. So there's like Tinkanonium. There's the main elements, which is Micadonium and Minidonium and Donaldonium and lots of doniums. But you would go through and would have it so there was all these different cartoons, or not the cartoons, but these different references to several different characters throughout the years. Also, inside of that restaurant or inside of the area, if you look inside there, it is the only place in Disney property where the maximum occupancy does not say maximum occupancy. So usually, when you go inside a building, it says maximum occupancy, 1,972 people. I don't know how big that building is, but that's a pretty big building. If you go over to Goofy's Candy Company, the maximum occupancy is 92, and it does not say maximum occupancy. It says max occupancy, because Max is a reference to Max, his son, and 92 is actually a reference to 1992 when Goof Troop debuted. So it's actually a really cool little detail that most people just walk by and never really realize. Oh no, you killed Goofy to move on Haunted Mansion. The 50th Disney toys, yeah, the ones that they have out right now are from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I actually got all of those on the first time they were out. Out of all the Disney theme parks around the world, is there a park that features Goofy more than the others, or is it pretty even? I feel like chicken tonight, like chicken tonight. I feel like Disneyland probably has the most goofiness. I would say Disneyland, and it's going to be even more so after the transformation of Toontown, because I think, I could be wrong, but I think Goofy's house is still staying there, and then also Goofy will be the conductor because it's Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So Goofy will be essentially having two different attractions that he's part of in that one land. And then over at Disneyland, they still have the Goofy statue that is found over at the hub. And then also Goofy usually meets people over on Main Street, USA as well. So I would say my guess, I could be wrong, but if it comes down to most things with Goofy, I would say that that's probably the top pick, most likely. I think Goofy is probably one of my favorite characters to meet. I've met Goofy. Well, if you look back at the Springtime Surprise Weekend in March/April, Goofy was the only character that actually stopped for all three races. He was in all three races and all three different outfits as well. So Goofy has a lot of different costume changes. I want to say it's somewhere around 650 different costumes that he can possibly wear at a Disney park. I've seen him in two. No, I've seen him in several different costumes throughout the years. Okay, let's go to our next question here. I feel like Goofy's the most relatable character for adults. They really put him through a lot over the years. Yeah, the thing that I've always loved about Goofy is the fact that Goofy he's always so happy. Like the guy has had so many things happen to him throughout the years, but he always continues going through and keeps on and having a good time. So, yeah. And he's on the back of the Disney cruise ship too. Yeah, he's on the back of the Disney Magic. He's actually painting on the words Disney Magic on the back of the ship. Talking about statues, what's the story with the Goofy bench on Main Street? So the Goofy bench on Main Street, USA, which keeps on coming and going. It's been a few years since I've actually seen it. For those of you guys who don't know what it is, it's a bronze statue that is found just outside of Tony's Town Square restaurant / the Town Square Theater. It's a bronze statue / a bench. Goofy is completely made out of bronze, and then he is also wearing a top hat and a shirt and stuff. Shirt and a suit. I don't know why I would say a shirt, but Goofy's sitting there on the bench, looking dapper as always. And when you walk over to Goofy there, Goofy, he used to go through and he actually used to have different phrases that he would say, like, oh gosh, good to see you. And he used to have several different phrases that he would go through. It would just go off at random times throughout the day. Like, not like random times, but it was like, every like 2-3 minutes, Goofy would say something else. And they started to have problems with the audio of it. So they removed it to fix the audio, came back. the audio broke again, so they removed it again. They brought it back, and then it wasn't working for the audio at all, and then they got rid of it. And then it got to the point where it was out of the way enough, but because of the demand of people when Tinkerbell and Mickey Mouse started to do meet and greets over at Tony's or at Town Square Theater, there were so many strollers that were being parked that they moved it because of stroller parking. And when they moved that, they kind of got rid of it. So we've not seen the statue for quite some time now, which makes me bummed out because it's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've seen it last. And last time I saw it, it was maybe there for a month, if that. Goofy is both optimistic and naive, and that's what we love about him. Is it still there? No, it's not there anymore, unfortunately, right now. Does Goofy have any hidden Easter eggs in any movies? I know he's seen in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Goofy can also be found at the start of The Little Mermaid. Him, Donald, and Mickey are all in attendance for the concert. They're found on the bottom left corner when Sebastian and King Triton are coming in. He's appeared, I was going to say he appeared in a Goofy movie, but that's obvious. I was thinking it's Goofy and Donald are on the side of the road. And during the open road segment, Goofy's already driving. He's the main star of the show. I know he's appeared in a few other things, and now I'm just drawing a blank. I can see him walking through the background of something. Oh, he was in Wreck-It Ralph, or Ralph Breaks the Internet. He makes a cameo in the internet at one point as well. All right, let's go through. We're going to check our. Yeah, he was in a DuckTales reboot, and he's at the end of the Chip 'n Dale movie. That is correct. Let's check to see our subscribers. If we get up to 1,550, we will continue on until for a little bit longer. Let's see here. Nope, we're still at 1,546. So we're going to be wrapping this up right here, it looks like, since we don't have any other questions that are popping up here. But thank you, everyone, for joining us once again tonight. As always, tonight's show is sponsored by It's All About the Mouse Travel. Make sure you stop by it'sallaboutthemousetravel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All of their services are absolutely, positively, 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. I'd like to thank everyone out there for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and From Screen to Theme, and invite anyone and everyone to join the group on Facebook and over on my YouTube channel as well. Of course, as always, if you've not ordered a copy of A Closer Look, I'm holding it up right now for those of you guys who can't see me, which is all of you, or A Closer Look, holding that one up right now too, or A Closer Look, make sure you order your books by stopping by the Shop Now button on either one of the pages to order a copy now. And thank you, everyone, for joining us once again. As always, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye now. Yeah, I'm good. I'm smiling and waving. no one can even see me right now. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I just can't stand this kind of pressure.